The early summer sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm light on the room. I sat at the kitchen table, nursing my coffee and glancing at Zoe, who was absent-mindedly stirring her cereal. Her eyes, usually so bright, were dull and clouded with a heaviness that broke my heart. Since she had stopped going to school, our mornings had been eerily silent, the air thick with unspoken words and shared pain. "Zoe," I ventured, breaking the silence, "how's the cereal?" She looked up at me, blinking as if pulled from a deep reverie. "It's fine," she replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper. She pushed the bowl away, clearly uninterested. I sighed inwardly, trying to think of something, anything, that might spark a conversation. It had been months since I'd seen her smile, and every day that passed felt like another lost opportunity to help her find her way back to herself. Just as I was about to give up and retreat into my thoughts, Zoe spoke again, her voice hesitant, carrying a hint of something I hadn't heard in a while. "Hope." "Dad," she began, her eyes flickering to meet mine, "there's this music festival today. I was wondering if you'd come with me." Her words took me by surprise. Zoe had never shown much interest in music festivals before. She was always more of a bookworm, preferring the comfort of her room to the chaos of crowds. But seeing the tentative spark in her eyes, I knew I couldn't refuse. "A music festival," I repeated, trying to mask my surprise with enthusiasm. "Sure, I'd love to go with you. What brought this on?" She shrugged, looking a bit embarrassed. I heard some of my favorite bands are playing, and I thought it might be fun." "Sounds great," I said, smiling. "Let's do it. It'll be good for both of us to get out of the house for a bit." Zoe's eyes lit up briefly, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. It was a glimpse of the girl she used to be, and it gave me a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, we were turning a corner. As we got ready to leave, I couldn't shake the feeling that this festival might be more important than just a day out. Zoe's request had come out of the blue, but it felt significant, like a tiny step towards healing. I watched her rummage through her closet, choosing an outfit with more care than I had seen in months. "You ready?" I asked, standing in the doorway of her room. "Yeah," she replied, pulling on her favorite jacket. "Thanks for coming with me, Dad." "Of course," I said, my heart swelling with a mixture of pride and sorrow. "Anything for you, Zoe." The drive to the festival was filled with nervous chatter. Zoe talked about the bands she was excited to see, and I did my best to keep up, even though I wasn't familiar with most of them. She seemed genuinely animated, her words coming faster and her hands gesturing as she described the music. It was a side of her I hadn't seen in too long, and I savored every moment. When we arrived, the festival grounds were already buzzing with energy. The air was filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and the smell of food trucks. Zoe's eyes widened with excitement as she took it all in. "This is amazing," she said, her voice breathless with anticipation. I smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. "It is," I agreed. "We're to first." Zoe led the way, weaving through the crowd with a confidence I hadn't seen in a long time. She pointed out the different stages and the schedule of performances, her enthusiasm infectious. As we wandered, she suddenly stopped, her gaze fixed on a group of people nearby. "Dad, look," she said, pointing discreetly. "That's Jack, the keyboardist for the Blazing Suns. They're supposed to perform later." I followed her gaze and saw a blonde man wearing sunglasses, chatting animatedly with a few other festival goers. "You know a lot about them, huh?" I said, impressed. She nodded, her eyes shining. "Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. Their music really speaks to me." I squeezed her shoulder, feeling a surge of affection and pride. "I'm glad you brought me here, Zoe. This is going to be a great day." As we continued exploring, I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was happening. Zoe's decision to come to the festival, her enthusiasm, and her willingness to share this part of her world with me, it all felt like the beginning of a new chapter. And for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. The drive to the festival was a mix of anticipation and nervous energy. Zoe seemed lighter, her usual somber demeanor replaced by a spark of excitement. I found myself smiling, stealing glances at her as she animatedly described the bands and their music. "Dad, you'll love the Blazing Suns," she said, her eyes bright. "They mix classic rock with some modern twists. It's really cool. I can't wait to hear them," I replied, genuinely curious. "It's been a while since I've been to a live concert. Should be fun." As we approached the festival grounds, the noise level increased. The distant thump of bass and the murmur of the crowd grew louder. The parking lot was packed, and we had to park some distance away, so didn't seem to mind the walk practically bouncing with every step. The festival entrance was a bustling hub of activity. Vendors lined the path, selling everything from band merchandise to eclectic food items. The air was filled with the mingling scents of fried food, popcorn, and something sweet I couldn't quite identify. Music played from multiple stages, creating a symphony of sounds that felt both chaotic and exhilarating. "Wow," Zoe breathed, taking it all in. "This is amazing." I nodded, feeling the same awe. "It's quite the setup. Where do you want to go first?" Zoe pulled out the festival map she had printed at home. "There's a smaller stage over there," she pointed, "where a local band I like is playing soon. Can we check them out?" "Lead the way," I said, gesturing grandly. We wove through the crowd, Zoe navigating with surprising ease. Her confidence in this environment was a stark contrast to her usual withdrawn self. I followed her, feeling a swell of pride and relief. Maybe this was exactly what she needed. As we neared the stage, the sound of live music grew clearer. A band was performing, and the crowd swayed to the rhythm. Zoe found us a spot with a good view, and we settled in to watch. The band was good, their energy infectious. I watched Zoe, her face alight with joy, and felt a knot in my chest loosen. "These guys are great," I shouted over the music, leaning towards her. She nodded enthusiastically. "I knew you'd like them." After the set, we wandered to the food trucks. Zoe's eyes lit up at the array of options, finally settling on a taco stand. As we waited for our order, we continued chatting about the bands and the festival. "Have you heard the Blazing Suns before?" I asked, curious. "Only online," she admitted, "but their live performances are supposed to be incredible. I'm really excited to see them." Our food arrived, and we found a spot to sit and eat. The festival buzzed around us, a constant hum of life and music. For the first time in what felt like ages, Zoe seemed truly happy. "Dad, thanks for coming with me today," she said suddenly, her voice sincere. "It means a lot." I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "I'm glad you asked me. I'm having a great time." As we finished eating, a loud announcement echoed through the festival, drawing our attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a slight change in the schedule. The Blazing Suns will be performing at the main stage in 1 hour." Zoe's face lit up with excitement. "We have to get a good spot." "Absolutely," I agree, standing up and gathering our things. "Let's go." We made our way towards the main stage, joining the growing crowd. Zoe was practically vibrating with anticipation, her enthusiasm infectious. As we waited, she pointed out various festival goers and shared stories about the bands. "See that guy over there," she said, pointing discreetly. "He's the lead singer of the Radiance. They played here last year and were amazing." I followed her gaze, nodding appreciatively. "You've really done your homework." She shrugged, a little embarrassed but pleased. "I just really love music." The crowd around the main stage thickened, and Zoe expertly maneuvered us to a spot with a good view. The anticipation was palpable, everyone buzzing with excitement. As the start time approached, the atmosphere became electric. Then, a murmur started to spread through the crowd. Confused looks and whispers rippled around us. Zoe frowned, straining to hear. "What's going on?" I asked, sensing her unease. She shook her head, looking worried. "I don't know. Something's up." A staff member with a harried expression took the stage, holding up a hand to quiet the crowd. "We regret to inform you that there's been a complication," he announced, his voice strained. "Our keyboardist is refusing to perform." Gasps and murmurs filled the air. Zoe's face fell, her earlier excitement replaced by disappointment. "No, this can't be happening," she whispered, more to herself than to me. I felt a surge of protective instinct. "Let's see if we can find out more," I suggested, gently steering her towards the backstage area. As we approached, the tension was palpable. Staff members rushed around, trying to resolve the crisis. We overheard snippets of conversation, the frustration and urgency clear. "We can't go on without him," one voice said. "The audience is going to be furious," another replied. Zoe looked up at me, her eyes wide with concern. "Dad, this is bad. What if they cancel the show?" I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that I couldn't let her special day end in disappointment. As we stood there, watching the chaos unfold, an idea began to form in my mind. It was risky, and I hadn't played in years, but for Zoe, I was willing to try anything. "Stay here," I told her, giving her shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "I have an idea." She looked at me, confused but trusting. "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "Just trust me." I approached the nearest staff member, my heart pounding. "Excuse me," I said, trying to sound confident. "I can play the piano." The closer we got to the backstage area, the more chaotic it became. Staff members were running around, talking into headsets and frantically gesturing. The air was thick with tension and urgency, a stark contrast to the joyous energy of the festival grounds. "Excuse me," I said, approaching a woman who seemed to be in charge. She had a clipboard in one hand and a stressed expression on her face. "What's going on?" She looked up, startled, and quickly assessed me before responding. "Our keyboardist, Jack, is refusing to perform. He's locked himself in his trailer and won't come out. Without him, the band can't go on." Zoe, who had followed me despite my instructions, stepped closer, her face a mask of concern. "Why is he refusing?" she asked, her voice a mixture of curiosity and worry. The woman sighed, running a hand through her hair. "He's having a meltdown. Something about not getting the right food in his rider and being upset over some personal issues. The rest of the band is ready to walk if he doesn't show." "Is there anything we can do to help?" I asked, my mind racing. She shook her head, clearly frustrated. "Unless you can magically find us a replacement keyboardist who knows their set list, there's not much anyone can do." I took a deep breath, the words I was about to say feeling both insane and inevitable. "I can play the piano," I blurted out, the weight of the admission sinking in immediately. Both the woman and Zoe turned to look at me, equally stunned. "Dad, what are you talking about?" Zoe asked, her voice tinged with a mix of disbelief and hope. I glanced at her, then back at the woman. "I used to be a professional pianist. I haven't played in years, but I can try. I know it's a long shot, but if it means the show can go on." The woman looked skeptical but desperate. "Are you serious? This isn't a simple gig. They have a specific set list, and the audience is expecting a professional performance." "I understand," I said, my voice steady despite my pounding heart. "But I can do this. Just give me a chance." She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "All right, come with me." We followed her through the maze of cables and equipment to the band's trailer. The rest of the band was huddled outside, their faces a mix of frustration and resignation. As we approached, one of them, a tall man with dark hair and a leather jacket, stepped forward. "Who's this?" he demanded, looking me up and down. "He's a pianist," the woman explained. "Says he can fill in for Jack." The band members exchanged glances, clearly skeptical. "We don't have time for this," another member, a woman with bright red hair, said. "The show's about to start." "Just let me try," I insisted, feeling the weight of their doubt. "I know it's not ideal, but it's better than canceling." The lead singer, a burly man with a deep voice, stepped forward. "All right," he said, his tone cautious. "We don't have much of a choice. Can you play Stairway to Heaven?" I nodded, my mind flashing back to the countless times I'd played the song. "Yes, I can." "Fine," he said, crossing his arms. "But if you screw up, we're walking off stage. Understood?" "Understood," I replied, feeling a mix of fear and determination. They led me to a keyboard set up just off stage. I took a seat, my hands shaking slightly as I touched the keys. The familiar feel of the instrument brought back a flood of memories, both good and bad. Zoe stood nearby, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and admiration. "Dad, are you sure about this?" she asked softly. I turned to her, offering a reassuring smile. "I have to be for you." The band members took their positions, and the lead singer gave me a nod. "All right, let's do this." As the lights dimmed and the crowd's chatter filled the air, I took a deep breath. This was it, my chance to overcome my past and do something meaningful for Zoe. The first notes of Stairway to Heaven filled the air, and I began to play, my fingers finding their rhythm. The initial nervousness started to fade as the music took over. The band joined in, their instruments blending with the piano, creating a powerful and moving sound. As the song progressed, I felt a sense of confidence returning. I could see Zoe in the crowd, her face alight with pride and excitement. For the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. When the song ended, the audience erupted into applause. The band members exchanged surprised but approving glances. The lead singer approached me, a smile breaking through his tough exterior. "Not bad, old man," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. "Let's keep going." With renewed energy, we launched into the next song. The crowd's enthusiasm grew with each performance, and I felt a sense of exhilaration I hadn't experienced in years. This wasn't just about playing music, it was about reclaiming a part of myself and showing Zoe that it was possible to overcome even the deepest fears. As we played the final notes of the set, the audience roared their approval. The lead singer stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "Give it up for our surprise pianist, Ryan Peterson." The cheers were deafening, and I felt a surge of pride and relief. I had done it. I had faced my fear and come out the other side, stronger for it. Backstage, Zoe ran to me, throwing her arms around my neck. "Dad, that was amazing." I hugged her tightly, tears of joy in my eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you, Zoe. You gave me the courage." She pulled back, smiling through her own tears. "I'm so proud of you." At that moment, I realized that this experience had been more than just a performance. It had been a turning point for both of us, a chance to heal and move forward together. The adrenaline from the performance was still coursing through my veins as I stepped off the stage. The band members were slapping me on the back, their earlier skepticism replaced with genuine appreciation. "You've got some serious skills, Ryan," the lead singer said, grinning. "I can't believe you just stepped up like that." I smiled, still catching my breath. "Thanks. It felt good to play again." Zoe, standing nearby, beamed with pride. She hugged me tightly, her eyes sparkling with a mix of emotions. "Dad, you were incredible." "Thanks, sweetheart," I said, kissing the top of her head. "I'm just glad I could help." As the band prepared for their next set, the woman with the clipboard approached me again. "Ryan, can I talk to you for a moment?" "Sure," I replied, following her to a quieter corner of the backstage area. Zoe trailed behind, clearly not wanting to be left out of whatever was happening next. The woman, whose name tag read Karen, looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and gratitude. "You really saved the day out there. We were on the verge of canceling the show." I nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I'm just glad it worked out. I didn't want to see my daughter disappointed." Karen glanced at Zoe, then back at me. "Listen, our keyboardist is still refusing to come out, and we have another set to perform in an hour. Would you be willing to step in again?" The request caught me off guard. I had barely processed the fact that I had played at all, let alone considering doing it again. I looked at Zoe, who was watching me with hopeful eyes. "Do you think you can do it, Dad?" she asked softly, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and concern. I took a deep breath, weighing my options. The thought of playing another set was daunting, but the memory of Zoe's proud smile gave me strength. "Yes," I finally said, meeting Karen's gaze. "I'll do it." Karen's face broke into a relieved smile. "Thank you, Ryan. We'll get you set up with the band so you can go over the next set list." The band members gathered around, discussing the songs for the next set. They handed me sheet music and we quickly went through the arrangements. Despite the time constraints, their confidence in me was reassuring. "Okay, we've got about 15 minutes to get this right," the lead guitarist Mark said. "Ryan, you good with the new songs?" I scanned the sheet music, my fingers itching to play. "I think so. Let's give it a shot." We quickly ran through the set, each note bringing back a little more of my old confidence. The band's camaraderie was infectious, and their encouragement made all the difference. As we finished the last song, the lead singer, Jack, nodded approvingly. "You're a natural man. Ready to do this?" I nodded, feeling a sense of determination settle over me. "Yeah, let's do it." The second set was even more exhilarating than the first. The audience's energy was palpable, and I could feel their excitement driving us forward. Each song flowed seamlessly into the next, and by the time we reached the final number, I was completely immersed in the music. As the last notes faded, the crowd erupted into applause. The band members turned to me, their faces glowing with satisfaction. "Ryan, you killed it out there," Mark said, clapping me on the back. "Thanks for stepping up." I smiled, the weight of the moment sinking in. It was my pleasure. "Thank you for giving me the chance." Backstage, Zoe ran to me again, her face flushed with excitement. "Dad, that was even better than the first set." I hugged her tightly, feeling a surge of pride. "Thanks, Zoe. I couldn't have done it without you. Karen approached us, her expression one of genuine admiration. Ryan, you were amazing. We couldn't have asked for a better replacement. If you ever want to play with us again, you're more than welcome. I glanced at Zoe, seeing the joy in her eyes. I'll think about it, I said, smiling. For now, I just want to enjoy this moment with my daughter. As we walked back to the car, Zoe held my hand tightly. Dad, you really are incredible. I had no idea you could play like that. I squeezed her hand, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. I just wanted to show you that it's never too late to face your fears and do something meaningful. She looked up at me, her eyes shining. You did, Dad. You really did. As we drove home, the night's events replayed in my mind. The fear, the exhilaration, the sense of accomplishment. All of it had brought Zoe and me closer than ever. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had truly done something meaningful and fatherly. And as we pulled into the driveway, I knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter for both of us. The moments leading up to the performance were a whirlwind of preparation and nerves. After agreeing to play another set, I found myself surrounded by the band members and Karen, who were all intent on making sure everything went smoothly. All right, Ryan, here's the set list for the next performance, Karen said, handing me a few sheets of music. We've added a couple of new songs to mix it up a bit. I quickly scanned the sheet music, recognizing some of the songs but not all. These are great, I said, trying to hide my anxiety. I'll do my best to keep up. Mark, the lead guitarist, gave me a reassuring smile. You've got this, man. We wouldn't ask if we didn't believe in you. Zoe stood by my side, her eyes full of admiration and excitement. Dad, I know you can do it. You were amazing in the first set. I squeezed her hand, feeling a surge of determination. Thanks, Zoe. I'll give it my all. The stage manager called for us, signaling that it was time to go on. The band members headed out first, greeted by the roar of the crowd. I took a deep breath, feeling the familiar tightness in my chest, but this time it was accompanied by a newfound sense of purpose. As I stepped onto the stage, the bright lights and sea of faces momentarily overwhelmed me. But then I saw Zoe standing just off to the side, her eyes locked on me. Her presence gave me the strength I needed. The band launched into the first song, a high-energy classic that got the crowd moving. My fingers found the keys, and the music flowed through me, each note building my confidence. The audience's energy was electric, fueling our performance. After the first few songs, the lead singer, Jack, stepped forward to address the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest with us tonight. Ryan Peterson, our surprise pianist, has stepped up in a big way. Give him a round of applause. The crowd erupted in cheers, and I couldn't help but smile. The band members gave me encouraging nods, and I felt a deep sense of camaraderie with them. We moved into the next song, a slower, more emotional piece. As I played, I could feel the music resonating with the audience. The connection was palpable, and it reminded me of why I had fallen in love with music in the first place. During a brief interlude, the band gathered around me. Ryan, you're killing it out there, Mark said, grinning. Ready for the big finale? I nodded, my nerves replaced by excitement. Let's do it. The final song was a showstopper, a powerful anthem that showcased each band member's talent. As the music built to its climax, I poured everything I had into the performance. The crowd was on their feet, cheering and singing along. As the last note rang out, the audience erupted into applause. The band members turned to me, their faces glowing with pride. Jack stepped forward again, motioning for me to join him at the front of the stage. Ryan, come on up here. I hesitated for a moment, then walked to the front, the cheers growing louder. Jack handed me the microphone, and I took a deep breath. Thank you, everyone, I said, my voice shaking slightly. This has been an incredible experience. I want to thank the band for giving me this opportunity and my daughter, Zoe, for always believing in me. The crowd cheered, and Zoe's eyes filled with tears of joy. I handed the microphone back to Jack, who gave me a thumbs up. As we walked off stage, the adrenaline still pumping through my veins, Zoe ran up to me and hugged me tightly. Dad, that was amazing. I'm so proud of you. I hugged her back, feeling a sense of fulfillment I hadn't felt in years. Thanks, Zoe. I couldn't have done it without you. Karen approached us, her face beaming with pride. Ryan, you were phenomenal. We'd love to have you play with us again sometime. I smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. I'd love that. Thank you for giving me the chance. As we left the festival grounds, the night's events replayed in my mind. The fear, the exhilaration, and the overwhelming sense of achievement. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had truly conquered my fears and done something meaningful. And as Zoe and I walked to the car, I knew that this experience had brought us closer and opened a new chapter in our lives. Dad, do you think you'll keep playing? Zoe asked as we drove home. I glanced at her, seeing the hope and excitement in her eyes. I think I might, I said, smiling. It felt good to play again. And who knows? Maybe we can find something to play together. Zoe's face lit up with joy. I'd love that, Dad. As we pulled into the driveway, I realized that this night had been more than just a performance. It had been a turning point, a chance to reconnect with my passion for music and strengthen my bond with Zoe. And as we walked into the house, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. The exhilarating second set had ended, but the night was far from over. As the band and I received congratulations and applause backstage, a sudden thought hit me. It was Zoe's 17th birthday, and there was no better time to celebrate it than right now with everyone around. Ryan, you were fantastic out there, Jack said, patting me on the back. You really saved the day. Thanks, Jack, I replied, still riding the high of the performance. I actually have a favor to ask. Jack raised an eyebrow. Sure, what is it? I glanced over at Zoe, who was chatting excitedly with some of the crew members. It's my daughter's 17th birthday today. I was wondering if we could do something special for her. Maybe play Happy Birthday. Jack's face lit up with a grin. Absolutely. I think the crowd would love that. Let's make it happen. I turned to Zoe, trying to keep my excitement in check. Zoe, could you come here for a second? She bounded over, her face flushed with joy. What's up, Dad? I knelt down to her level, taking her hands in mine. So, I know tonight has been a roller coaster, but there's one more thing I want to do. It's your birthday, and I want to celebrate it with everyone here. Her eyes widened in surprise. Really? How? You'll see, I said, giving her a wink. Jack rallied the band members and quickly explained the plan. The crew bustled around, adjusting mics and preparing for the impromptu performance. As we made our way back on stage, the crowd, still buzzing from the previous set, began to cheer once more. Jack took the mic, his voice booming over the speakers. All right, everyone, we have a special surprise tonight. Our amazing guest pianist, Ryan, has one more request. It's his daughter Zoe's 17th birthday, and we'd love for you all to join us in celebrating it. How about we sing her a special happy birthday? The audience erupted in applause and cheers. Zoe stood next to me, her face a mixture of embarrassment and happiness. Ready, Dad? She whispered, squeezing my hand. Ready, I replied, nodding to Jack. Jack counted us in, and the band began to play the familiar tune. The audience joined in, their voices blending into a harmonious chorus. I started playing the piano, letting the joyful melody flow through me. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, the crowd sang, their voices filling the night air. Zoe's eyes shone with tears of happiness, and I could feel my own emotions welling up. Happy birthday, dear Zoe, happy birthday to you. As the final notes rang out, the audience erupted into cheers once more. Zoe hugged me tightly, her tears spilling onto my shoulder. Thank you, Dad, she whispered. This is the best birthday ever. I held her close, my heart full. You deserve it, Zoe. I'm so proud of you. Jack stepped forward, handing the mic to Zoe. Would you like to say something, Zoe? She looked at me, then at the crowd, before taking the mic with trembling hands. I just want to thank everyone for making this night so special, especially my dad. He's always been there for me, and tonight he showed me just how amazing he really is. Thank you, Dad. I love you. The audience clapped and cheered, and I felt a surge of pride and love for my daughter. As she handed the mic back to Jack, he smiled warmly at both of us. Let's hear it one more time for Ryan and Zoe, Jack shouted, and the crowd responded with a deafening roar. As we left the stage, I felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. The night had been a testament to overcoming fears, embracing second chances, and celebrating the bonds that hold us together. Backstage, the band members gathered around, congratulating Zoe and me. Karen, the event organizer, approached with a huge smile on her face. Ryan, Zoe, that was beautiful, she said. Thank you for sharing such a special moment with us. Thank you, Karen, I replied. It means the world to us. Zoe nodded, her smile radiant. Yeah, thank you. This has been the best night ever. As we prepared to head home, I couldn't help but feel that this night had marked a new beginning for us. It wasn't just about the music or the performance. It was about reconnecting with my passion, showing Zoe the importance of perseverance and celebrating her courage. In the car, Zoe rested her head on my shoulder. Dad, do you think things will be different now? You know, with school and everything. I kissed the top of her head. I think so, Zoe. Tonight showed us both that we can face our fears and come out stronger on the other side. We'll take it one step at a time together. She smiled, her eyes closing as she drifted off to sleep. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Zoe, I whispered, my heart full of hope and gratitude. As we drove home, the night sky seemed a little brighter, and the future a little more promising. We had faced our fears, celebrated our victories, and created memories that would last a lifetime. And in that moment, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, with courage and love. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows, filling the house with a warm glow. I awoke with a sense of calm and fulfillment I hadn't felt in years. The events of the previous night played in my mind like a beautiful symphony, each moment resonating with significance. Zoe was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. She looked up and smiled as I entered the room. Morning, Dad. How are you feeling? I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down across from her. Good, surprisingly. How about you? Happy, she replied, her smile widening. Last night was incredible. I still can't believe you played for the band. And the happy birthday song, it was perfect. I reached across the table and took her hand. It was a special night. I'm glad we could share it together. As we sipped our drinks in comfortable silence, the doorbell rang. Zoe glanced at me, curiosity in her eyes. I'll get it, she said, standing up. She opened the door to reveal Karen, the event organizer, holding a bouquet of flowers. Good morning, Zoe. Is your dad home? Zoe stepped aside, letting Karen in. Hi, Karen. Yes, her words struck a chord with me. Finding a balance seemed like a plausible path. You're right, Zoe. Maybe I can find a way to enjoy music again without letting it take over my life. Over the next few days, Zoe and I settled back into our routine, but there was a noticeable change. Zoe was more engaged and enthusiastic, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We started spending more time together, talking about our dreams and fears and finding comfort in each other's company. One afternoon, while we were sitting on the porch, Zoe turned to me with a shy smile. Dad, there's something I've been thinking about. What's that, sweetie? I asked, curious. I'd like to try playing an instrument. Maybe the piano, like you, she said, her cheeks turning pink. I think it would be fun and it might help me deal with everything. Her words filled me with pride and hope. I think that's a wonderful idea, Zoe. I'd be happy to teach you if you want. She nodded eagerly. Yes, please. I want to learn from the best. We started her lessons the next day. At first, it was just simple scales and basic songs, but I could see the joy and determination in her eyes. It reminded me of my own early days at the piano, and it reignited my love for teaching. One evening, as we were practicing, Zoe paused and looked at me thoughtfully. Dad, do you think I should go back to school? The question took me by surprise. Do you want to? She shrugged, biting her lip. I'm scared, but I think I'm ready to try again. Last night showed me that I can be brave, and I want to give it another shot. I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. I think that's a great idea, Zoe. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. I'll be here with you every step of the way. The next week, we visited her school together. The principal was supportive and understanding, and arrangements were made for Zoe to ease back into her classes. It was a challenging transition, but each day she grew more confident and resilient. Meanwhile, I found myself drawn back to the piano, not as a performer but as a father and teacher. I started composing again, simple pieces at first, but each note brought a sense of peace and fulfillment. The fear was still there, but it was tempered by the love and support of my daughter. One evening, after a particularly good practice session, Zoe turned to me with a big smile. Dad, you should perform at the next event Karen mentioned. I'll be there cheering you on. I laughed, ruffling her hair. Maybe I will, Zoe. Maybe I will. As we continued to play together, I realized that new beginnings were not just about starting over, but about embracing the journey with all its highs and lows. Zoe and I had faced our fears, celebrated our victories, and found strength in each other. And as we looked to the future, we knew that whatever came our way, we would face it together, with courage, love, and music.